Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from wherever you cast your pods, and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today,
we've got 6 updates for you today, so a bit of a quieter show than we've had recently. We've got updates to Connected Sheets, Google Sheets, Google Meet, and Google Meet, and then finally to Google Chat. As always, there is a link in the podcast or the video description to the document that we read from. This document has some more detailed information, relevant links, some lovely pictures, and even some moving graphics showing you these features in action. So, let's get to it.
On with the show. Right, so first little update that we have for everybody is to do with connecting sheets. So you can now filter by filter only fields and parameters with connected sheets for Looker. So Google is adding support for 2 additional field types for filtering in connected sheets for Looker, which are filter only fields and parameters. These new options will give you even more ways to explore the semantic layer of your data, as you will now be able to recreate advanced filtering in Looker Explorers and dashboards using connected sheets for Looker.
This is pretty cool. Didn't we have an update like this recently, Adam, to Connected Sheets, where it said about it was adding in some more filter options? I'm sure I've heard this one before.
I think we've had a couple of updatelets for Connected Sheets that are all quite similar. Yes.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, it kind of makes sense because fundamentally the product is pretty amazing, this Connected Sheets. For anybody who's not familiar, Connected Sheets is something that Google has which ties into their system called Looker, and what Looker does is it gathers all of this huge amounts of data from all of these different sources, and then you can put that data into Connected Sheets, and Connected Sheets has some absolutely humongous capacity for
5 billion
data. Is it 5? Is it? Are you saying that facetiously, Adam, or is it actually 5 billion?
A little bit of both. I think it might actually be 5 billion.
It's got some crazy amount of data that it can handle, and fields and rows and things like that. And we've had an update similar to this before, where you can there's been a tweak to the field filtering that you can put in. We don't use Connected Sheets ourselves. We don't have anywhere near that amount of data. But for any of you lovely listeners out there who are using Connected Sheets, I'm sure that this will mean more to you than it does to us. And I'm sure you'll be very pleased to hear that there's some more filtering options in there, because having those options is always better for us as admins. What's the sort of rollout pace and availability here, Adam? It's an update, so I think it's probably across everywhere now, right?
Yeah, so rolling out to rapid release and scheduled release right now, and available to all Google Workspace customers and users with a personal Google account. I've also added a lovely link in our document for if anybody would like to learn more about filter-only fields and parameters in Looker.
I always love the thought of anybody with a personal Google account using Connected Sheets from Looker.
Get the most out of your free account.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next, please?
So up next, we have another little updatelet for everyone. So you can now add emoji reactions to comments in Google Sheets. So that's very exciting. So earlier this year, Google introduced the ability to add emoji reactions to existing comments in Google Docs. And they're very excited to announce that this is now available on comments in Google Sheets, increasing collaboration by enabling you to quickly and creatively express your opinions about spreadsheet content. Isn't that exciting, Adam?
Well, I am on the edge of my seat, wetting my pants, Adam. I mean, we all know that Google get terribly excited about when they add these emojis, and we do too. I mean, we just can't get enough of them. For any of you regular listeners, you know that Adam and I have sort of our opinions, shall we say, on these sort of emoji introductions into things like Google Sheets. Do you know what? Hey, it's like, if you want to use it, go for it. It's there. It's not something that we personally use. Although, I have to say, Adam, out of all of the emoji bolt-ons that we've kind of seen to Google Workspace products, this is probably the one that I would say is the most relevant one, or the one that I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's pretty good, actually. Apart from when they did the emoji reactions to messages in chat.
That's what I was thinking. I think that's a little bit more popular in my book.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I think this is quite good is because I think the moving graphic, so again, for you listeners, there's a moving graphic in the document here showing you how this works. And I think Google have chosen a very good moving graphic here to demonstrate how this feature could be used effectively, which is they've simply put a thumbs up emoji in here for the comment. I think that is quite useful because if you imagine you're in a bigger team, so again, thinking bigger than us, let's say you've got a sheet that you've created and you've put a comment in and you've got maybe 50 people who you want to react to that comment. It's a lot easier to see 50 thumbs ups. Hopefully you get 50 thumbs up. It's a lot easier to see 50 thumbs ups than have 50 comments of people saying, yeah, looks good. Yeah, it's okay. Oh yeah, looks lovely. Oh, pretty. Do you kind of get what I mean, Adam?
Yes, I do. And these days, throughout Google Workspace, if you're not reacting with an emoji, are you even commenting at all? It's the way that everyone communicates these days. Although, I would say, and obviously we do not go off on tangents here, it's simply not what we do.
But we do go off on tangents, right?
But apparently, one or two people find the thumbs up reaction a little bit passive-aggressive. I actually really like it myself. I think it's a very clear way of just saying, yes, okay. But apparently lots of people actually find it quite passive-aggressive.
Oh my God, I think they need to get out more. God, if people have got enough time to worry about whether a thumbs up is passive-aggressive or not, I think they need a bit more going on in their life. No offence to anybody listening who's finds a thumbs up passive-aggressive. But honestly, I mean, it's a thumbs up for God's sake. It's what is going on? People finding that passive-aggressive. That's an interesting thing, Adam. I hadn't actually heard of that. But no, I think we should all be able to use thumbs up without being worried about whether somebody's going to be upset about it.
And now you can do it in Google Sheets.
Now you can do Google Sheets and you can passively aggressive thumbs up people in Google Sheets. I think this is actually pretty nice. I'm being a bit facetious about it, but it is actually pretty nice. And I think out of all of the emoji updates that Google have done, this is probably one of the more useful ones.
Yes, something just to very quickly emphasize about this particular little update alert. So this is not using emojis within Google Sheets. That was available way back when. This is an emoji reaction to a comment within Google Sheets. So as you kind of mentioned, so in the example given, somebody has left a comment saying, oh, can you please do this action? And then somebody has emoji reactioned with a thumbs up to that comment to essentially say, yes, I will go and do that. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully.
Or passive-aggressively, no, do it yourself.
Passive-aggressively, yeah, I will do it this time. Yeah, I think that's a good clarification that you've made there, Adam, and that's good to point out to people that it is about reacting within comments. I do think this is going to be quite useful, especially to bigger teams. So unless somebody puts a really cryptic reaction in. I've had that before with messages. They can you update this column? And they just put in like a cool face, or they put in like a sticky out tongue, and you think, is that a yes? I'm just after a yes or a no here. So yeah, I think this is generally pretty good. When are people going to see this, and who's it going to be available for, please, Adam?
Okay, rolling out to rapid release right now. Launch to scheduled release is planned for October the 19th, 2023. So coming to Google Sheets near you very, very soon. This is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, as well as users with a personal Google account. I've also added a lovely link in our document if anybody would like to learn more about using comments, action items, and emoji reactions.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
So up next, we have a Google Meet update. So we have some updates for exporting Google Meet hardware, fleet, data, and bulk device configurations. So Google is making 3 updates to the way that admins manage their Google Meet hardware devices. Whenever we're talking about Google Meet hardware, I always like to emphasize the word hardware, just to make it clear that we're talking about hardware and not just Google Meet on the whole.
Oh, could you say hardware one more time as well, Adam?
Hardware. So the very first
very
one,
ASM, I like that.
I know, right? So the first one, filtering fleet data export. So first, when you generate an export of your device data, that export will now use all active filters you selected on the device list page prior to initiating the download. Previously, this action ignored filters and generated data from every device in your entire fleet. Next up, bulk updates via CSV upload. So second, you can now make bulk updates to your device settings by uploading a modified export of your device settings in CSV format with your desired changes. Prior to this change, the only way to make bulk changes to device settings that are managed at an individual device level as opposed to an OU level was to select up to 50 devices at a time on the device list page and trigger a bulk action. This change will allow customers with large fleets to save time by cutting down on repeated manual steps when rolling out changes to hundreds or even thousands of devices. Imagine having thousands of Google hardware devices. But I do love making that update to be able to use the CSV. I love a good CSV because I'm very sad. But we do have an important note on that, is that Google recommends carefully reviewing their Help Center article before using this feature, as there is no automatic way to revert the changes. Possibly you could just reverse engineer your CSV file, but Google says there is no automatic way to revert the changes, and the only way to undo the changes is to use the bulk update feature again with an earlier clean fleet data export file. Oh yeah, so just use another CSV file to be sure to keep one saved. Admins must have the prerequisite Google Meet hardware admin privileges to successfully bulk update devices. This feature cannot be used to assign calendars at this time. And the third one is that Google is also making it possible to temporarily silence device and peripheral alerts. This is helpful when rooms are temporarily taken down for maintenance. You can select a duration of time the alert should be silenced for and add a note regarding the silenced alert so other Meet hardware admins can reference. You can also filter your devices by silenced and unsilenced from within the admin console from devices, Google Meet hardware, and then devices. And in addition, Google has added a new customer level setting at devices, then Google Meet hardware, then settings, service, which is called New Device Alerts, that now allow admins to specify whether newly enrolled devices automatically have their alerts silenced or not. So there's that's a 3-in-1 for everyone.
Lovely. Yeah, 3 little updates in there. I mean, just going back through these one at a time. First of all, we don't use Google Meet hardware. I can't think of a company that has hundreds or thousands of Google Meet hardware devices, but I guess they must be out there. Yeah, good point, Adam. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So going back through these updates then, the first one, filtering fleet data, the fact that when you export, it does it with the filters that you've already got selected. Really, really nice. Love that. Very nice attention to detail there. They must have gotten that feedback from some of their users, or somebody high up within Google was doing that and getting annoyed that it didn't sort of filter out. There's something similar in the admin console, isn't there, Adam? Because when you do a data export from the admin console, it will actually say, do you want to export the data with the columns that you're seeing now, or do you want to just export everything?
Yes, very handy feature, that.
Yeah, really handy. So like that one a lot. Bulk update via CSV, completely agree with you, Adam. I'm sad as well. I like a CSV, and doing bulk updates via CSV, I love that. When I sort of read, like you sort of said there, that you could only do 50 devices at a time, kind of reminds me of those updates that we've seen before where they've said, oh, we've increased our live stream from a pitiful 5,000 to 8 million or something like that, you know. You could only do 50 devices at a time. I thought, who has more than 50 devices? But you're quite right, Adam. Google probably does. I bet they do. So that's a very nice update as well. CSV update, fantastic. For any listeners wondering, there is a graphic in the document. It's not a moving graphic, but it is a little static graphic showing you what the CSV bulk update interface looks like. So if you want to have a look at that, then go and check that out. And the last one there, the alert silencing, again, really, really nice. Just something I would never think of, because we haven't used these devices. But yeah, if a room's down for maintenance, you don't want those alerts pinging off. That might be a bit confusing. And another really nice thing that Google's added in here, in that addition part that you've put down there, I think it's in the addition part, but where you said about the note that they can put on for the admins, really like that as well. You can put in a reason so that people know why the alerts are silenced. And again, there is a little graphic in there showing you, again, a static graphic showing you what that looks like in terms of that setting and where to go. Thank you for all that information, Adam. That's a really nice 3-in-1 update there. What's the getting started and rollout pace and availability here, please?
Okay, so for the admins getting started, they can visit Google's Help Center if they'd like to learn more about how to do a fleet data export, bulk update devices, or silence alerts. And of course, I've added links in our document for all of those. For the end users, though, there is no end user impact or action required. This is definitely more for the admins out there. Rollout pace, so rapid release and scheduled release, so the filtered data export and the bulk updates via CSV upload, they're both on a gradual rollout, which started on October the 12th. But for the alert silencing, that's also on a gradual rollout, so potentially up to 15 days for feature visibility. But that one is starting on November the 7th, 2023. And this particular 3-in-1 update is available to all Google Workspace customers with Google Meet hardware devices.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Next up, we have an update to Google Meet hardware. So, to book a conference room directly from a Google Meet hardware device. Pretty cool. So, to maximize the use of physical room resources and to make it easier to find meeting rooms, you can now book an available conference room directly from Google Meet hardware devices. If the device calendar shows a specific room is available, you'll be able to book a room for either the next 30 minutes or 60. If you need to, you can cancel an in-room booking from the device as well. This feature will launch with the default set to off, so admins will have several options to configure this feature across their fleet. So you can turn this feature on across all rooms by going to a directory, buildings and resources, then global room settings and toggling book rooms for Google Meet hardware. You can turn off this feature for specific rooms by going to a directory, then buildings and resources, resource management, resources even, then select the name of your room, and then room settings and toggle exempt from in-room booking. You can also bulk update the individual room toggle for up to 200 rooms from the resource management page.
It's a really nice update. This is really good. I imagine this would be extremely useful for those situations where you've got those Google Meet hardware devices around and you just don't have a device on you to go in and sort of book that resource, or it might be quite complicated to access that calendar. That device is there. It's already got a computer and it's already got the connection to the calendar. Makes perfect sense that you can just book it as a quick sort of slot for half hour or an hour there. Very, very nice update. I really like that. Really, really like that. And, you know, it's like anything with these sort of connected systems that Google has. This is really dependent on how well all of this is set up. You've got to have your calendar set up properly. You've got to have your resources set up properly. You've got to have everybody using it correctly. And then it will work really, really well. So as long as you've got all of that set up very, very tightly, this will work very nicely, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I really like this update. A couple of examples when this could be super helpful. Maybe somewhere like a university or some kind of education campus, or equally maybe it's just your office somewhere where you happen to see that a room is empty and you want to go in and use it and say, oh, well, instead of actually having to now go off somewhere else and book a room or something like that, you can literally say, this room is empty, I'm going to book it right now for the next half an hour or an hour, instead of just starting to then use that room and then 10 minutes later someone else with a booking then comes along. So it's a good way of just saying, yes, this is available right now and I will take advantage of the fact that it's available right now and book it out for myself.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Not having to have like another device to do that.
Or go elsewhere to then go and make your booking to then come back and find someone else has already booked it or whatever.
Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah, I think this is very nice. What's the getting started here then, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, this feature will be off by default, but it can be enabled by the admins out there. So visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about in-room booking with Google Meet hardware. And I've added a link to our document for that. For the end users, if your admin has turned on this feature for your organization, you should see the Book Now option appear automatically in available conference rooms, unless the room in question has been opted out.
Yeah, what you were talking about earlier there with admins being able to sort of opt those rooms out. Thank you, Adam. What's the rollout pace and availability as well, please?
Rapid release and scheduled release, there's a gradual rollout for this update, which started on October the 10th. And this update is available to all Google Workspace customers that are using Google Meet hardware.
That makes sense. Yep, perfect. What's the next update, please, Adam? I think it could be a Google Meet update, couldn't it?
We do have a bit more meat. So Full HD is now available for group meetings in Google Meet. So earlier this year, Google announced 1080p video resolution for one-on-one Google Meet calls. Google is expanding 1080p meetings with 3 or more participants, the lucky few that get to see you in 1080p. So this higher resolution is available on the web when using computers with a 1080p camera. 1080p resolution is off by default. Why would it be off by default? Users with 1080p cameras will be prompted to turn on the higher resolution option before entering the meeting, or it can be turned on or off via the settings menu. Note that 1080p is only sent when one or more users are pinning the 1080p enabled user on a screen large enough to render the 1080p video feed. For those specific scenarios, additional bandwidth will be required to be able to send the 1080p video, and Google Meet will automatically adjust the resolution if the device is bandwidth constrained.
Okay, I think most people will be able to handle that with their bandwidth now over 1080p. But we do have to remember that listeners in America, surprisingly, America does have bandwidth issues in certain states and certain regions. They do have some geography problems with getting high speed internet out, and we're a little bit spoilt here in Europe in comparison. But then again, Asia is spoilt in comparison to us. So, I think this is a very good update. Very, very nice to see a bit of expansion of this 1080p option. I remember when it was sort of announced for the one-on-one calls and seeing it in the group meetings, even though it is only 3 at the moment. It's very nice to see. Oh, no, sorry. I take that back. It's 3 or more. Sorry, Adam. Sorry, I read that incorrectly or heard that incorrectly.
Oh, yeah. So did I. Sorry, I thought it was only 3 as well. And I was just like, This is just a very, very small step in the right direction. I was why would you only have it enabled for 3?
The reason they've done it for 3, Adam, is so that they can then do an update where they increase it to 5 million. So it's that's why they've done it that way.
Very much that. So, yes, sorry, I do beg your pardon as well. So, so 3 or more participants. Why not 2?
I know.
Oh, actually,
well, I suppose that's one-on-one, isn't it? I guess if there's only 2, so I suppose that's why they've done 3
it was
or more.
already available for 2. I was thinking, well, it was available for 1, but no, it was, if it was you and somebody else, then that is already the 2. So
it's all right. Our listeners have just witnessed that rambling blonde moment that we've both had. So, okay, I think this is a very nice step in the right direction. I tell you what, I'm really excited about, Adam. We're getting closer to my dream of being able to record in 1080p. So we might see that in a future update pretty soon. That is very nice to see. I like the fact that Google still put that little notification up to say that you're in 1080p mode so that you know when you are. Very nice to see that they automatically reduce it down if there's bandwidth constraints or anything like that.
Yeah, I do think that is quite sensible, that the automatic adjustment.
I don't think that's a word, but I do like it.
The automatic adjustment, I do think that is a very good and intelligent option that's there.
Yeah, I think it's very useful for people who are in America, as I say, because they surprisingly do have some bandwidth issues over in the US, and I'm sure any of our listeners who are in the US will be going, "Oh, yeah, that is a problem over there." But this is very nice to see. I think it's a very good step in the right direction. And there's not much of a getting started on this, I should imagine.
Not really. So for the admins out there is no admin control for this feature, so you can't force everybody to stay in 720. It's there's no admin controls for this feature. But for the end user, this feature is off by default. I still just find it really surprising. Why would it be off by default? Surely it would be on by default, and otherwise it would automatically adjust to be off if required. But never mind.
Yeah,
This feature is
yeah.
off by default, but it can be enabled by the user. And if required, you can visit Google's Help Center to learn more about how to enable 1080p in Google Meet. However, as we kind of mentioned, when you join a meeting, I think it will just pop up and say, do you want to enable 1080?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Again, for the listeners, there is a moving graphic here showing you how that pops up and what that looks like. So for anybody who's interested in that, you can check out the moving graphic in the document that's linked in the video or podcast description. What's the rollout pace and availability, please?
Okay, so a rapid release and scheduled release. This update is available right now, so love to see that. The availability, though, this is available to Google Workspace Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Starter, Enterprise Plus, Education Plus, and the Teaching and Learning Upgrade, and Workspace Individual subscribers. This is not available to users with a personal Google account, so sorry about it.
Wah, wah, wah. This is interesting availability because this is the same availability, I believe, that we see on a lot of those other Google Meet features like Google Meet recording, breakout rooms, Q&A, polling, all of those sorts of things are at that sort of tier level where you're Google Business Standard and above and your Education Plus. So it makes sense that this is aligned with those other features for people to be able to see in crisp 1080p resolution, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, I guess so. I think I'm just a bit surprised that you would need to be as high as Education Plus just to be able to be seen in 1080 or on a Meet, even whether you don't want to join it. If you're joining somebody else's Meet, then you still can be seen at such a low resolution of of only 720. But
I think it's probably just to keep it a bit easier in terms of all of those more advanced Google Meet features are just under that tier umbrella. They're sort of all, on that slightly higher tier. But I do understand what you mean, Adam. It seems like quite a basic feature that you would think would be a bit more available across the board.
Yeah, I kind of would have thought that they would just enable this for everyone, or regardless, really, even people with a personal account, really, just anyone that would ever use 1080, because surely... Yeah, but that's just me. But I'm not Google, so I'll let them make their own decisions.
Yeah, we will give them the grace of letting them make their own decisions. Oh, we are so humble, Adam. Lovely, thank you. What have we got last, please, Adam?
Okay, so finally from us this week, we have a Google Chat update. So expanding smart replies everywhere you receive messages in Google Chat. So building upon recently introduced features in Google Chat, such as the Smart Compose and autocorrect, Google is super excited to announce that smart replies are expanding from direct messages to group messages and spaces on chat on web. So you can now utilize smart replies powered by machine learning to quickly respond when you're on the go, in a hurry, or just want to take the tediousness away from typing messages in chat. It is very tedious having to use your fingers to actually type a message. Now available in spaces and group conversations, smart replies help you respond to teammates quickly and move projects forward more efficiently.
Okay, I didn't actually know that the smart replies weren't available in the spaces. I thought it was just available across all of Google Chat. I didn't realise it was only in...
Yeah, I was the same, but I thought it was just available within Google Chat on the whole, but no, apparently not.
Oh, bit interesting that they sort of have to phase it into direct messages and then phase it in separately for groups and sort of spaces. Great that they've done that. I mean, that's good. I don't know what you think, Adam, but I've found the autocorrect is getting... Sorry, not the autocorrect. I've found Smart Compose is getting really, really clever and really, really good at predicting what I want to type.
Yes, definitely. The only one thing on that, which is, it's a very minor thing, is sometimes it gets the tense that I'm using wrong. So then if I want to say, I will look into that, then it would want to say, looked into. So then it wouldn't make sense to say that I will looked into that or something. So then I have to tediously use my finger to press the backspace at least twice to say, no, I will look into that and just get rid of a couple of characters. But yes, I am finding more and more that the suggested responses to be very, very helpful and intuitive as well. So the smart replies, where you see the little bubble with a suggested short little sentence, you could say, or a quick reply to somebody, I tend not to use those too much. They generally do seem to be a bit generic. Maybe that's just more of us within our workspace or our chats, because sometimes there'll be questions that are just get put out there. Is anybody aware of this, or does anyone know how to do this, or something along those lines? They're generally questions, and so then a lot of the time we'll get the responses like, no, I'm not sure, or yes, I'll get onto that, or something like that. And I tend not to use that. I generally do tediously type out a response myself, but using the suggested chat whilst I'm doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't tend to use the smart replies very much, but I do find that smart compose is something that I do use quite a bit, because I'll start typing something and it will just tend to fill out a sentence.
Just like we also do through the rest of Google Workspace as well, especially within Google Docs as well. If you're typing away, then the smart compose is definitely very, very helpful.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that the tense is wrong sometimes as well, because I haven't witnessed that personally, but that would be something that Google, I'm sure, will be working on with the AI to make it figure out what tense you're meant to be speaking in, because of course there are rules there, therefore the computer can do it very well. So that's interesting to hear. But very nice that they've sort of spread this across. Like I say, I did think it was there already, but, it isn't, and this is very nice to see. What's the additional details here, Adam?
Smart Reply uses sophisticated machine learning intelligence to recognise which messages most likely need responses, and proposes up to 3 different replies. And I would definitely agree with that. You do see sophisticated, intelligent suggestions that you may use. So, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think the smart replies are generally very good. You're right, we just tend not to use them ourselves. I do use them sometimes, it depends.
I think one of the reasons that I tend not to, but then maybe I fall into this trap of doing it myself anyway, is that I don't want to reply like a robot, if that makes sense. So then every time you say, oh, have you done this? Have you seen this? Are you able to do this? I won't just say affirmative at all available times or something like that. So then I would give it more of something that I would say, not just a generic response from Google, which would still apply, if that makes sense.
I think you've hit on an important point there, Adam, and I think this is what we're going to see in the future, is smart replies that are looking at how you word things, not just how the machine will word it based on what somebody's written. So I know exactly what you mean, where often I'll sort of reply and say, I don't know, I might say to you guys, oh, that's great information, or super thanks, or something like that. But the machine learning smart reply, it's the same information, but it's not...
It's not your personality.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like the words that I would use typically. And you're quite right, it can come across a little bit robotic. So an example might be in the graphic that they've given here. One of the smart replies is, let me check. I probably wouldn't say, let me check. I would probably say something like, I'll have a look. And it would be quite nice if the smart reply learn what I say rather than just what it would generically say. The only problem with that is you are then getting into a machine learning system that's going to have to look at your messages and analyze your messages to figure out your writing style. So, as always with this technology, there's pros and cons.
Absolutely. But I'm just thinking, would it not... No, maybe it's only... I was just trying to think, the way that it's able to do the smart... I keep getting mixed up between the smart reply and the other one. I keep getting mixed up with the terms of them. But
smart
for the
compose.
With the smart compose, yes. So with the smart compose, because that's the one as you're typing, then surely it would still need to read what you're doing in order to come up with that. However, I think that's probably taking that one sentence standalone. It's not looking at your entire message history or something to develop your style.
I think the key difference is exactly what you've said. When it's doing Smart Reply and Smart Compose, it's looking just in time at what you're typing to then suggest something. To do what I'm suggesting about having something more personalised, it would need to look at a lot of what you're saying and critically store it, because it would need to store that information and then learn based on what you're saying and what you're typing. So, like I say, as always, there's pros and cons to these different ways of doing it. But, this is a very nice update. What's the getting started here, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins out there, there is no admin control for this feature, but for the end users, smart replies will appear automatically. Simply select one of the 3 response options surfaced in a chat, or customize your response before you click send. And note that this feature is available in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. So I dare say we may see that expand to more languages over time. To turn off smart replies in chat, navigate to the top right, click Settings, under Smart Reply, uncheck the box. And of course, if anybody would like to learn more about replying to a chat message, you can visit Google's Help Centre, and I've added a lovely link in our document for that.
Great, thank you for doing that, Adam. I didn't actually know you could turn it off. That's quite interesting. What's the rollout pace and availability here, please?
Okay, so this feature is available right now for all users, which is great, and is available to all Google Workspace customers and users with a personal Google account.
Wonderful, that's absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you, as always, for doing all of that, Adam, and reading through all of that. Fortunately, we only had a few updates, and we didn't ramble too much and go off on too many tangents, so that's good. Everybody will be pleased. And that's it, everybody. That's everything that you need to know about all of the updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from wherever you cast your pods, and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
And we'll be back again next week with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye!